Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video. Alright, I got several news stories for you today, and we're going to get into all of those here in just a moment, but I want to start off with letting everybody know we are 88 days away, just 88 days from our next cruise. We're going to be heading out on Grandeur of the Seas this September. Now, this weekend is going to be 4th of July weekend. And if you are going to be flying to take a cruise this weekend, actually, if you're going to be flying anywhere, okay, definitely remember to pack your patience, especially this weekend. If you guys have been following any kind of travel news, paying attention to the airlines, it seems like they are canceling hundreds, sometimes thousands of flights every weekend, claiming staff shortages, people calling in sick, weather, whatever the case may be. But we have seen a lot of airline cancellations lately, and now on top of it, it's going to be a very busy holiday weekend. So look, I hope everyone planned to get to their cruise port early, and I hope everyone that's flying packed your patience, and that no one is planning on flying in for their cruise at the very last second. I just think it's going to be a rough weekend, so just keep that in mind. Be prepared for it when you go to the airport. Get there early. Expect long lines. Expect delays. I just don't want to see anybody be late for their cruise, miss their cruise over the airlines, which is, they're having their own set of issues these days. So just keep it in mind. Now, on to the cruise news. Now, yesterday, the Disney Wish was officially christened in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and she was christened by the godchildren from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, the Disney Wish is Disney's first LNG, liquefied natural gas, cruise ship. She is going to begin sailing on July the 14th, or her inaugural sailing on July the 14th. And she'll be doing 3- and 4-day sailings to Nassau, Bahamas, and Castaway Cay. And I considered booking a cruise over on the Disney Wish. It is one of the ships that we looked at for 2023, but honestly, Disney's normally very expensive, but this being their new ship and her first year sailing, I mean, those prices were pretty high for a 3- and 4-day sailing. So I think we're going to be putting the Wish off for, a little bit, another year or two at least. Now, Norwegian Cruise Lines. We've been talking about the Norwegian Sun for the last 2 videos that we've done. She hit an iceberg. She went to Juneau, Alaska to assess the damage. The remainder of the cruise was canceled, and the ship was heading back to Seattle, Washington. Still had all the passengers on board. Was going to come back at a reduced speed, and is arriving in Seattle today. Well, now we've also found out that the sailing that was supposed to go back out today on the 30th, that one has been canceled as well, while the ship is going to get repaired. So a lot, just like we kind of saw when the Norwegian Breakaway, when she hit the sandbar, cruise was canceled early. Now the next cruise has been canceled. They're not really saying how many sailings can be canceled. They're not really even saying to what extent the damage is, but we know that the sailing that was scheduled to depart today has been canceled. Those passengers, of course, are going to receive a 100% refund, a 50% future cruise credit, and $300 per person for airline cancellations and charge fees. But even with the money, even with the 50% future cruise credit, even with the $300 to help with the airline fees, if you were traveling to Seattle, fixing to travel to Seattle, fixing to get on this ship today, only to have your cruise canceled, that's still a bummer. That is still a huge disappointment, especially being an Alaska cruise, which maybe this is something that, people saved up for a year, 2, 3 years to go on an Alaskan cruise, to have it canceled at the last minute. So that is still a huge bummer, no matter how you look at it, even with the money. And our last cruise story today is going to be about Carnival Cruise Lines. Now, Carnival, they got 2 different stories today, 2 different news stories, but they're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum here. It sometimes seems like with these cruise corporations that the left hand and the right hand may not know exactly what the other one is doing, and these 2 stories conflict a little bit. Now, it's a big company, it's a big corporation, it's a big cruise line. I'm sure they're hoping that their plans are going to work out, but as of today, they're a little bit conflicting. And I'm going to tell you these news stories, and you guys can probably see why. So Carnival has announced that they are going to be starting back up the chef's table dining experience across the fleet, effective today, June the 30th. Now, they've been talking staff shortages. They shut down the chef's table. They shut down Cucina del Capitan. They shut down some of the parties on board the ship. All over staff shortages. And they say the staff shortages, they're getting better. They're starting to get more crew back on board. They're getting the visas issued by the U.S. government so they can get more crew back on. And they have enough back on the ships now that they are able to bring back the chef's dining experience. Now, they had already brought back the Diamond and Platinum Party and the Diamond event back on June 24th. Those two events had also come back because they were shut down due to the staff shortage. So those came back as well. So, but even with the crew that they've gotten on board, they still can't restart everything because there is still a shortage. So the Behind the Fun Ship Tour, the Dr. Seuss Breakfast, and of course, Cucina del Capitan, one of the specialty restaurants on board, it is still going to remain closed for dinner due to these staff shortages. But while all this is going on, Arnold Donald, the CEO of the Carnival Corporation, also put out a statement where he says he expects Carnival Cruise Lines will be sailing at 110% capacity for the third quarter, which is the busy summer months. So with all of the fleet back up, back in service, they're expecting a busy summer schedule with 110% occupancy rate on some of their busier ships, especially over the summertime here in the third quarter. Now, if you're not real familiar with occupancy rates and how they get to these numbers, so occupancy of a ship is based on basically the number of cabins at double occupancy. Okay, that's how they figure out, okay, we're sailing at 100% occupancy. That would basically mean every cabin was filled at double occupancy. But if you've ever cruised before, you know that's not the case, because the cabins, let's say that there's a family of 4 in, 2 adults and 2 children, okay, the third and fourth passenger in a room are not counted towards the occupancy level of the ship when they say, well, this particular cruise ship holds 5,000 people. Well, that's 5,000 people based on 2 people per room, okay, at the double occupancy rate. But families travel. There's usually, you're definitely going to have rooms that have more than 2 people in them. So you can reach an occupancy level of 110% on some cruise lines based simply on family members, third and fourth passengers being in rooms. Okay, now they don't let it go a whole lot higher than that, but if you've ever thought, wow, it's supposed to be 5,000 people on this ship, and it seems really extra crowded, well, that's where you can get, if you have an extra 10% on board the ship, meaning third and fourth passengers, it can feel extra full. And that's how they come up with that 110% occupancy level. But if on one hand you still have staff shortages that you can't even open all of the events and features on board the ships, then in the other hand, you're talking about a 110% occupancy level. Like I said, I'm assuming that they expect to have full crew complements across the fleet, here in the next week or two, because we're coming in the third quarter starting here in July. The big summer schedules and the big summer months, well, they're already happening, but your July and your August are big months for cruising. Well, all the kids are out of school. So, I kind of wonder, is it smart to go to 110% occupancy rate when your crew is not even operating at 110%? Sometimes it feels like one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, or, maybe they've got the cart in front of the horse on this particular one, or maybe it'll all work out. Who knows? Me personally, I think you should have your crew at 110% before you expect to raise occupancy levels. That way you have enough crew to take care of those passengers. But hey, that's just me, and I don't run a cruise corporation, so what do I know? But that's going to be your cruise news for today. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow, and of course, we'll let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there has a really great day, and like always, we will see you out on the high seas.